All right, let's do our last lesson on probability for Workplace Math 10. This is a lesson on odds. Sometimes in real world examples, probabilities or chances of events occurring are given in terms of odds. So it's important to understand what odds are. So the odds are just a different way. Instead of a percentage or a decimal or a fraction, it's a ratio that compares the probability of an event happening to the probability the event does not happen. Okay, so the odds in favor of odds of winning, let's say, would be the number of favorable outcomes to the number of unfavorable outcomes. The odds of losing would be unfavorable to favorable. Okay, so let's talk about a game and give an example. So let's say a soccer team. Now, odds are often given a lot in betting or in sports. So let's say a soccer team wins 3 out of every 4 games they play. So the probability this team is going to win is 3 out of 4 because they win 3 times out of total 4 games. But when we say odds in favor, we're going to give this as a ratio, and it's going to be the ratio of winning. It's not the winning to total, it's winning to losing. Okay, so the number of games that they win is 3. The number of games that they lose, though, is not given explicitly in the question. You have to infer it. So it's 3 to 1. If they win 3 games, they lose 1 for a total of 4. So that's what you would hear probably. Sometimes when you watch sports at the beginning of the game, they say, oh, the odds of this team winning are 3 to 1. That means they're going to win 3 times. They're going to lose 1 time. The odds against winning are just the opposite way. It would just be 1 to 3, losing to winning. So that means that's odds against. Okay, let's do some practice. Flipping a coin. So probability of getting heads, well, there's 2 things that can happen, and only one of them is heads. So we would write the probability as 1 out of 2. One way to get heads. Two things that can happen. You can get a heads or tails, right? So the odds in favor of getting a heads, you don't write it in this way. You write it this way. One way to get a heads or one way to not get a heads. So this is the ways to get a head. This is the way to not get a head. So it's 1 to 1. Okay, same against getting a head, it'd also be 1 to 1. Okay, let's do this one. Rolling a 6-sided die. Probability of rolling a 3 would be 1 out of 6. Okay, so there are 6 ways that it can happen. Only one of them is a 3. The odds in favor of rolling a 3 is going to be total number of ways to get a 3, which is 1, to the total number of ways you don't get a 3, which is 5. 5 ways to not get 3. So that's how you give the odds. It's a ratio of ways it can happen to ways it can't happen. So the odds of rolling a 3 would be 1 to 5. 1 time you would get a 3, 5 times you would not get a 3. Okay, probability of rolling a number greater than 4. So that would be either a 5 or a 6, 2 out of 6. Or you can reduce it to 1 and 3. So the odds against of rolling a number greater than 4. So odds against, that means ways it can't happen, are 2 to every 1. Okay, let's do some card questions. Randomly choosing a card from a standard deck. I have the standard deck here again. Remember, there's 52 cards total. Okay. Probability of choosing a king. So there are, I'm just going to circle them. There's 4 kings in a deck out of 52 cards total. If you reduce that by dividing by 4, you get 1 out of 13. That means there's one way to get a king, one king, and 13 total. So there's 12 cards that are not kings. That's going to be important when we write our ratio in a second, okay? So the odds in favor of choosing a king is going to be 1 to 12. That means for every one card will be a king, but 12 cards will not be kings. Okay, so see how those two numbers add to the total 13? 1 plus 12 is 13. That's a good way to check. Probability of choosing a diamond. Well, there's 4 suits, right? And only one suit is a diamond. So 1 in 4. So that means there's one suit is a diamond. Four total suits. So 3 are not diamonds. So one suit is a diamond. 3 are not diamonds. So when we write our odds, that's the ratio we're going to use. So the odds against choosing a diamond is going to be the number of ways it does not happen to the number of ways it does happen, because we're doing the odds against. So it's flipped. So it's the ways it doesn't happen to the ways it does happen. So the odds against choosing a diamond would be 3 to 1. Okay, converting odds to probabilities. The odds in favor of a basketball team winning are 3 to 2. So that means they win 3, they lose 2. No, sorry, I always spell it loose, lose. Okay, so 3 wins, 2 losses. So important when you're calculating the probability to have a total. So that means the total here would be 5 games. So when we're doing our probability, we're calculating that out of 5. So it'd be 3 wins out of 5 total. Or if you convert that to a percentage, that would be 60%. What is the odds against a horse? So the odds against a horse winning are 5 to 2. So that means if it's the odds against, we're doing losses to wins. So that means they win 5, or sorry, they lose 5 because it's the odds against. They win 2. That means the total they're talking about here is 7 races. So the odds of winning is 2 out of 7. 2 because of that 2 number here, and then 7 total. So when you're doing a probability, you're using the total. And when you're doing odds, you're just comparing, you're not comparing to the total, you're just comparing ways you can win to ways you can lose.